Okay, I've been tagged by religious fiction. Now, this tag is about a question often asked to us non-believers. That question is, if there is no God, then why live? Well, I'm going to answer this question in two different ways. There's the first way, that we have a biological imperative to live that's been driven into us over our entire evolutionary heritage. Obviously, if you think about it, if an organism isn't driven to survive and doesn't fight tooth and nail to do so, then they're not going to survive. And they won't reproduce, and hence they won't pass on those apathetic genes, or groups of genes. And those organisms that do have a drive to survive, and this is all variation, mind you, those are the ones that will tend to reproduce in greater numbers and leave offspring, and we are the product of that lineage. Obviously, we couldn't be the product of the other lineage because they're not here anymore. So, from there, we have a deep-seated imperative to live. That's why we have this fear of death. That's why we have, our fight or flight response. All innate things to keep us alive so that we may reproduce. Because it's all about the sex, folks. It really is. It's all about the sex and having kids. Us humans now, we've been able to short-circuit that a little bit. Some people choose to have kids later on in life, and they can put it off. But most people still have children. Or at least most lineages, most families still have children being born, and great-grandchildren, and so on. In my family, we have, from my mom, we have 6 brothers and sisters. And this kind of links back, this will link to later reasons to live. But I got 6 of us brothers and sisters, and then a whole bunch of nieces and nephews, and great nieces and great nephews. Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of dense around here with my family, and that's just the ones here in San Diego. You go back east, and we pretty much own the eastern seaboard. Family's been here since 1730. There's a lot of us. Most of us in Arkansas, though. Okay. So there's the biological imperative. Now, with any biological system, there's always variations in that. Some people have a strong drive to live, and sometimes they might be called cowards because they'd rather run and live than fight to defend others, or to defend their rights. But they're not cowards. They're just incapable of overriding that biological imperative to survive. The next ones we have are the thrill seekers, which I've been a part of myself in the past, where you do things that could get you killed. Some of them don't survive very long. It's not that they necessarily want to die, but death is secondary to getting that adrenaline rush. Thirdly, are the people who truly do want to end their existence. Now, most of these people do tend to have an underlying neurophysiological complication, and most people can be helped. So, to those of you out there that have ever had those kind of feelings, if you ever have them, seek help. Because once you punch your lights, there's no turning them back on. And there's no light to go into afterwards. Or at least that's my opinion. Okay, so that's the biological side of why we live, or why we're driven to live. Of course, that may not be enough for some people. They want to have some kind of ultimate purpose. Well, an ultimate or absolute purpose given to us by God isn't really much of anything. It's basically being told that you were created for this and only this, and you're basically an automaton with delusions of intelligence and sentience and free will. Indeed, if you use the common theistic God, which is an omniscient God, a God that knows everything. Free will is a total illusion, and hence we don't really have the choice whether or not we live. We simply do because we are ordained to do so. There's no purpose in that, no wanting for anything in that, and everything we have is simply an illusion. Or everything we want and believe we have is an illusion. But for me, I do have things to live for. I have my family, and as I mentioned earlier, it's a large family. I don't even know most of my family because it's so large. No joke, just recently in Florida, my sister lives there, and with her husband and her husband's father. No joke, the caregiver for the father, the one that comes in and takes care of the father, because he's elderly, is related to my family like 4 generations back. Just just a common coincidence. Well, maybe not a common coincidence, but a coincidence. Those are things to live for. You're seeing things like that. You're like, wow, the interconnectedness of our species. A woman that I've never met, and you wouldn't have expected, turns out to be a member of my extended family. That's cool. There's, of course, also friends. I don't see a lot of my friends much anymore. I'm too busy, but I do miss them. And, well, I'd like to see them more. And then, of course, there's my girlfriend. I see her all the time, and that's just wonderful. It's really cool that we work together and we live near each other, so we don't have any of distant problems or anything. Of course, sometimes I think she gets tired of me, but she's too nice to say that. Okay, the next thing, personally for me, excuse me, is this stupid cold I'm breeding. Sorry. Next thing, personally for me, is mystery. I want to know. I want to know about all this stuff around me. I want to know why the technology in front of me works, how it works. I want to know the chemistry behind the origin of life here on Earth, and possibly in in other areas in the universe. I want to know these things. I want to learn. And obviously, and I can't do that if I'm dead. So that curiosity strongly overrides any feeling of depression that would lead me to a suicide. The next thing is, along those same lines, is I like to teach. I've been teaching music now for 17 years, give or take. It's been a fun job. I'm starting to move on. I'm going to move on and start teaching biology. I still have quite a few courses to go through because basically I have to restart my college career that I abandoned at one point. And kids out there, don't abandon your college career, especially if you're doing well at it. Stick with it, because it's a pain in the butt going back. And other than that, there can be numerous things to live for. I've mentioned my few: family, mystery, learning, and education. You guys tell me what you have. Now, don't post a response to this video if you do want to answer. Post it to Religious Fiction, because she kind of set this thing up. And I'll put a link in whichever site it is, over there, I think, to her video. Not to mention, this video will be as a response to her, so, okay. Yeah, I get a little rambly when I first wake up, don't I? Okay, that'll be it for this video. I hope it was sufficient. But I do have another one coming out because, well, you'll find out.